Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. And peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into Black Stars, African American women writers. Now, currently, right now, we are on Maya Angelou. Born 1928. She's certainly one of my favorites. And if you would like to hear more poems from Maya Angelou, I have on my playlist. It's entitled The Complete Collected Poems of Maya Angelou, where I actually go through her book and read her poems. So, without further ado, coming out of Black Stars, African American women writers. For Maya Angelou, it reads as such. Now, one of the most versatile writers in American history is a poet and novelist, Maya Angelou. Her accomplishments as a dancer, singer, producer, composer, actor, teacher, and writer have brought her international acclaim. She was born Marguerite Annie Johnson on April the 4th, 1928, in St. Louis, Missouri, to Vivian Banter and Bailey Johnson. She had a younger brother who was also named Bailey. After their parents' divorce, young Margaret and her brother were raised primarily by their paternal grandmother, Annie Henderson, in Stamps, Arkansas. Years later, they went to live with their mother in San Francisco. Angelou tells of her childhood experience in her first memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, 1970. She describes, what life was like for a black girl in the South during the 30s, the 1930s. A National Book Award nominee, the highly praised autobiography remains a bestseller 30 years later and has been adapted for television. Now, here is a beautiful picture. There go Maya right there. And Maya Angelou graduated, from Mission High School in San Francisco at the age 16 and gave birth to a son shortly thereafter. As a young single parent, she struggled in a variety of jobs ranging from short order cook to nightclub dancer. She attributes her ability to survive this most difficult period to the upbringing and examples of her grandmother, who was also a survivor. The author tells of early childhood lessons from her grandmother and about her own struggles as a young mother in her second memoir, Gathered Together in My Name, 1974. By the time she wrote Making Merry Like Christmas in 1976, the third book of the autobiographical series, she is married and divorced. The author would marry and divorce twice more. In this same time period, the 1950s, Angelou traveled and performed in a European production of the opera Porgy and Bess. It was a time of great possibilities for her, but since she had to return to the United States to raise her son, her tour with the production ended. Angelou later moved to New York, where she became associated with artists involved with the civil rights movement of the 1960s. One of them was author John O'Killens, co-founder of the Harlem Writers Guild. She also met James Baldwin, Pauli Marshall, Rosa Guy, and many other literary figures. This period of her life is covered in her fourth memoir, The Heart of a Woman, 1981. During the 1970s, the Ghanaian, or Ghanaian, Ghanaian government invited African Americans to join them in Ghana, where they could share their talents. Maya Angelou and other activist artists traveled there to live. Journalist Jean Carey Bond and her architect husband Max Bond and artist illustrator Tom Fillings, with whom Maya Angelou later produced a book of poetry, where among those who responded to the Ghanaian invitation, Angelou's time spent in Africa is detailed in her fifth memoir, All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes, 1986. In January 1993, President Bill Clinton asked Maya Angelou to write a poem for his inauguration. This request marked a first for an African American and a first for a woman, though the request was a major honor for Angelou. It was not the first time she had been called on by a president of the United States. She was appointed by President Jimmy Carter to the National Commission on the Observance of International Women's Year and by President Gerald R. Ford to the American Revolution Bicentennial Advisory Council. At this writing, Angelou is honorary chairperson with the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF. Beginning with Angelou's 1960 commencement to the civil rights struggle, she had lent her name to many causes involving children and women. At the request of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., she served as a Northern coordinator for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. This versatile artist has not only worked as an actress, but has written, directed, and produced plays for films and television. The author is friend and mentor to television personality Oprah Winfrey. She also advises other artists, including singers and songwriters Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson, with whom she has produced a song and poetry album that they performed at Carnegie Hall, in New York City. Now, Angelou is proud to be a black woman and celebrates it in her writing and performances. In an introductory essay in the 20th anniversary issue of Essence, she states, "I'm so glad I'm a black woman, because if I were anything else, I'd be so jealous." Though she frequently displays a teasing side, Angelou is serious about the elevation of black womanhood. And most popular of her poems, "And Still I Rise," she captures how black women have endured endless hardships and struggles and yet continue to rise and walk tall. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is among the all-time best-selling books in the country. Other books by the author are Just Give Me a Cool Drink of Water 'Fore I Die, 1971. Oh, Pray My Wings Are Gonna Fit Me Well, 1975. And Still I Rise, 1978. Shaker, Why Don't You Sing, 1983. And Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey, 1988. The author has one son and one grandson. She is the recipient of numerous awards and honors and is currently the Reynolds Professor at Wake Forest University in Durham, North Carolina. As of this writing, Maya Angelou is directing films and has homes in North Carolina, New York, and Georgia. Now I have a little inscription right here which is entitled Becoming a Beautiful Person. And this little section reads as such. Angelou has been featured many times in Essence, the major black women's publication in this country. Interviewed by Essence magazine editor-in-chief Susan Taylor, Maya Angelou offered the following advice on becoming a beautiful person. Being a host to grace provides one with gentility, a generosity, a spirit of forgiveness, and humor. The minute you host grace, you speak slower because you want to be understood. You speak more softly because you don't want to jar, offend, or run anybody away except those who mean you no good. Your gestures are larger, more open, and more generous. People's ideals about you become less important, and you literally do become more beautiful. And that does complete the section we have on Maya Angelou. I would like for you to stay tuned for our next Black Star African American woman writer. That is Polly Marshall. And here is her picture. There's Miss Marshall. So it be it thy will, I will speak with thee soon, here on Poem Praise 2. But until then, I certainly want you to be well. Take care of yourself. Be blessed. And until next time, later, y'all.